Before the season 2 of Netflix's Never Have I Ever comes out, I had to review this show that my Indian family is so much in love with. Although the show has strong representation and a catchy plotline, there are some things that we have to talk about. Just so you know that there are major spoilers ahead in this video, so in case you haven't watched the first season, here's your warning. Let us begin. Never Have I Ever is a comedy drama which revolves around an Indian-American teenage girl named Devi. The story begins with John McEnroe narrating the story from a bigger picture where we are told about her parents who have moved to America and have traditional Indian values, while their daughter Devi on the other hand is more of an American as she was raised here. Later in the story, we are shown that her dad died, and her dad's passing is just thrown into the audience's face. And without even letting us process, we're taken to a few months later when Devi is paralyzed. Now that she has recovered and is back on her feet, she wants to have a new start as well as rebrand herself and her friend and of course, get a boyfriend. There are some good things about this show that I liked, but also things I felt could have been better. The awkwardness in scenes in between the character is hilarious. Devi is an awkward person and her state literally makes us think what we would do in that particular situation. Would we be equally miserable? We see her being so brave in her room, in front of her friends, and in front of her nemesis. However, when she's around Paxton, she tries but ends up doing something cringy. These are some things that makes Devi quiet relatable. I do however like the scene where Devi is wearing a sari, and little white girl behind her asks her if she is Princess Jasmine. Although Arabic and Indian cultures are miles apart, people do tend to confuse them and ask inappropriate questions. Devi on the other hand tries to take it as a compliment, to which the girl says Ariel is prettier. However, this is just the kid talking, so no feelings hurt, right? Not exactly, cause soon after this conversation we find the kid's mother asking Devi for a picture with her kid. We can see Devi feel awkward, which is completely fine for girls to feel, especially when they're asked to pose in ethnic clothes. Devi does not want to take the picture, but a man in the crowd basically pressures as the woman continues insisting. As someone from an ethnic background, it is quite relatable to get stared at while wearing traditional clothes, but all we want to do is blend in, and the last thing we need is someone expressing their opinion on our outfits. Moving on, let us talk about Devi going to therapy, which is so unlike brown people. Later on in the show we see that Devi's mother Nalini does not believe in therapy. I was happy to see that they are actually showing Devi go to therapy and deal with her trauma step by step. I have seen shows where mental health is talked about for 5 minutes until the character moves on to their next issue without even addressing their trauma. Most shows I see are trying to make the main female character likable and relatable in all aspects. But Devi is not a perfect character, which might also be the reason why some people found her annoying and unlikable, because she was not like the traditional high school good girls we are used to seeing. Devi is a mess. Yes, she has a short temper. Yes, she isn't a present friend. Yes, she argues with her mother a lot, and yes, she lied about sleeping with Paxton. But what I did like is how she is held accountable for her actions. In most series, the female protagonist does stupid things which are swept under the rug. But in Devi's case, she is called out, she apologizes, learns and grows. I think we need more female characters who are not flawless in all aspects and never offend anyone. It's hard for young girls to see themselves in this perfect girl because, let us face it, we are all flawed. And a flawless female protagonist has a limited character arc with very little space to grow as a person. Her friendship. I get it, a lot of people might say that Devi has a life outside of her two friends, and she can do whatever she wants and likes. But her best friends, Fabiola and Eleanor, literally pushed her from class to class when she was on a wheelchair. They were loyal to her and did not leave her side when things got tough. So it is Devi's duty to be for her friends when they are down, because this is the ultimate loyalty test. When it comes to Devi's relationship with her mother, I felt like Devi's mom is conservative and trappy. But I could also relate to their relationship on a personal level, and it kinda broke me to see how they struggled to meet each other on a common ground. Devi's mother Nalini is trying to deal with the grief of losing her loving husband and becoming the sole head of the family while raising her teenage daughter. We have seen her have a miscarriage, and how deeply that loss affected her, so we can only imagine what Mohan's sudden death did to her. Devi's father Mohan is the family's emotional support who acts like a bridge between the mother and daughter. And his death has further complicated Devi's relationship with her mother. What I do like about Devi's personality is that she isn't a complaint box. She does take her anger out later, but the part where Nalini is pissed at Devi for not successfully convincing her uncle Ron for her application at Harvard really makes us feel bad for Devi, as we know that Ron wanted Devi to use her father's death as one of her stepping stones to reach Harvard. This wasn't just traumatic to Devi, who was still grieving her father, but also an insensitive thing to expect from a young kid dealing with loss. I like how our girl stands up for herself and also makes her own path. It is funny to see how Devi has accepted her faith of never getting a relationship with Paxton, so she literally finds him one evening and asks if he is interested in having sex with her. The fear of rejection haunts us all, but not Devi, who gets a yes from Paxton, and they even shake hands to this. I am curious to find what is about to happen in the next season, and whom will Devi end up with, Paxton or Ben? In this season, we got to see a whole episode dedicated to Ben, narrated by Andy Samberg. We got to see the inside of Ben's life, and even though Ben had everything any kid his age wished for, what he was missing is the lack of affection and attention. Initially, I did not want Ben and Devi to end up together, but now I see how a part of Ben's life depended on Devi. How the little bickering they had in the classroom or hallway was the most interesting part of Ben's life. But when it comes to Paxton, we just know him as the cool guy, and even though we are introduced to his sister Rebecca, very little is known about his parents other than the fact that he is part Japanese. I would really like for the next season to have an entire episode dedicated to a day in Paxton's life, just like we had one for Ben. Also, last but not least, we have Kamla, Devi's hot Indian cousin, who is set to have an arranged marriage while she does have a boyfriend. Arranged marriage is a common practice in India, but one thing which people outside India fail to realize is that Indians are quite progressive, and it is not necessary that our family will stop speaking to us if we marry outside our community. It does happen a lot of times that Indian parents do not want their children to marry outside their community because they believe that Indian marriages last forever. But we do see Devi's family coming across as conservative, so we know how Kamla must feel since she was basically raised in India. So I really want to know if Kamla will choose another path, or do as her family says, and marry Prashant and impress the aunties. Speaking of aunties, their caricature is true to a certain extent, but what I found surprising was how the foundation shade on their face matched their neck. But what do I know about makeup? Anyway, the season 2 of this show comes out on the 15th of July only on Netflix, and I cannot wait to watch it, and give you my honest review on that as well. This was my opinion of the show after watching this season. But do let me know in the comments what you think of season 1 of the Never Have I Ever. Also feel free to make suggestions on what would you want me to review next. Thank you for watching this video. Do subscribe to our channel if you want to see more of these genuine reviews, and hit the notification bell.